Good morning and welcome from a very early morning here in Disney property. I'm here on site for a couple of weeks. You know, the theme for this year has been double down, and one of the best ways, in my opinion, to double down is through education. So I spent the last, about a week or so in workshops and training sessions and learning from experts that I normally wouldn't have access to. And this has been a great opportunity to start the new year off. And so through that process, that has given me a lot of time to reflect and think about additional lessons that I want to be able to share with you and that would be helpful as you look to build your business now as you step into 2019. And one of those actually runs alongside a solo cast that we aired several weeks ago. It was episode 854 of Onward Nation. The title of that episode, I'm going to take one of those lessons a little bit deeper, one of the highlights from that episode a little bit deeper here in this video. And the title of that episode was Don't Be a One-Trick Pony. So I share a lot of historical context and kind of build up in that episode, and I want to take a piece of that a little bit deeper here. And that is, with your thought leadership and your expertise, it does not mean that you have to be on every single channel, but it does mean you need to be on multiple channels in order to avoid being seen as a one-trick pony. Here's what I mean by that. So let's say that you're a host of a rockin' awesome YouTube series, or maybe you have a lot of subscribers to your blog, or maybe you've built a really substantial email list, or maybe you have a best-selling book. Fantastic. Maybe you're the host of a top-rated podcast. Awesome. And it's probably taken a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to that point, and you've added a lot of value to your audience. In order to truly be seen, though, in order to be considered a true thought leader, you need to take that deeper. Because having a podcast or having a YouTube series or having a blog, well, that's awesome, but that's one trick. That's one channel of distribution, potentially, one channel of distribution. Now, yes, you could argue, well, if I have a podcast, Stephen, I'm in iTunes and I'm in Google Play and I'm in Stitcher and in all of these other channels. Yes, that's true. But what you need to be doing so that you can build audience across multiple channels, and I'll explain why that's important to you or in just a minute, beyond just building audience, although that's the primary reason. One is to be able to take that content, take that episode, for example, a podcast episode, and be able to slice and dice that across multiple channels, other channels than just iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play. What I mean by that is you take the core elements out of a podcast episode, for example, and that becomes a Facebook post, it becomes a LinkedIn post, maybe it becomes a blog. Maybe you take 3 or 4 episodes that are thematically like kind of consistent. If you were to think of it as an editorial calendar, you take 3 or 4 of your episodes, combine those together, and maybe that forms an ebook on a particular topic that's related to your thought leadership, and share that with your audience. Maybe it's a top insights briefing. Maybe your podcast becomes a central source for primary research. You compile all of that together and produce a study. So you're taking an episode, a singular episode, or a series of episodes and putting those together. So now you've created original content or cornerstone content, like what we like to say here at Predictive ROI. You've created cornerstone content for a particular channel, and then you sliced and diced that across multiple channels. So it's one piece of original work, cornerstone content, that is now leveraged across multiple channels. So why is that a benefit? One, you're growing audience and being helpful to your audience across multiple channels. That's great. Your audience grows, your helpfulness grows, your thought leadership grows, you're impacting more people. That's fantastic. That is a great way to double down in 2019 by being more helpful with your content. Also, you're creating leverage for your time. You created one piece of original content, cornerstone content, and then you and your team sliced and diced that piece of cornerstone across then multiple channels. Awesome. It also gives your audience the impression that you're in every single channel when you're not. You're in every single channel with original cornerstone content when you're not. You took one piece and sliced and diced it. Then what it also does is adds defensiveness, adds a defensive strategy, adds a protection strategy to your business. And here's what I mean by that. That let's say that you're going all in on Facebook, for example, or LinkedIn or Twitter, and you think, I'm going to build my audience around Twitter. This is essentially a defensive strategy. Now, I'm not anti-Twitter, I'm not anti-Facebook, I'm not anti-LinkedIn, I'm not anti any channel. But I do believe that being not seen as a one-trick pony, that also means that you're channel agnostic. That also means that you're building across multiple channels, because let's say that something does happen to Facebook. I don't know, I can't predict that, or that something happens to LinkedIn. One channel that you really invested in, that you went deep in, that you did an inch wide and a mile deep strategy in, if that channel happens to falter, as I described in episode 854, that solo cast that I mentioned a few minutes ago, where a host interviewed me as a guest on his podcast, and he was talking about how, he had gone all in on the Pulse network with LinkedIn. And then when that went away, his website traffic suffered because that was his primary channel. So the key piece here of not being a one-trick pony is not only being able to serve your audience across multiple channels, because that's a good thing, creating more impact and being more helpful to more people across multiple channels, but then also it's a protection piece, a defensive piece for your or for your business too, that if you're building audience across multiple channels, not only is that helpful for your audience, but then if one particular channel happens to falter or maybe go away, like LinkedIn Pulse Network, then you're fine, because you're helping people across multiple channels. So don't be a one-trick pony. Be very strategic about your thought leadership and how you can create a piece of cornerstone content and serve your audience really, really well, and your hub and your spokes. We've talked about that in episode 854, where I slice that apart, where you're creating cornerstone content and then slicing it apart across multiple channels, so you're never ever seen as a one-trick pony, and instead you're seen as, because you are, a true thought leader. I hope that was helpful. Please do leave me your comments below. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know how this was helpful to you, because your feedback helps me get better each and every week. And I look forward to seeing you next week, probably another early morning, because I'm going to be recording several videos while I'm here in Florida for those workshops that I mentioned. I hope that was helpful to you. Please do give me your feedback. I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, onward with gusto.